Welcome to the Soft Rebellion podcast, a homecoming to the creative power of your female body. Our world uproots us from the gifts of the feminine, the intuitive, the instinctual, the cyclical, the soft. What's the result? Patriarchal cultures of perfectionism, shame, and disconnect that leave us constantly running, never arriving. Imagine a world of women softly rebelling, claiming our cyclicity, our weirdness, and our rest as we courageously cultivate a deep and delicious relationship to our female bodies. My name is Florina. I'm an osteopath, dancer, writer, and coach. I've been on my own journey sparked by an eating disorder to come home to the wild, poetic anatomy of my female body and awaken my creative power. And I invite you to join me and my guests, trailblazing teachers, healers, and creatives, as we each reclaim our own soft rebellion. Hey, and welcome back on the podcast. I'm so glad and happy that you're here, and I just want to very warmly welcome you. Do you know these feelings of numbness and restlessness in your own heart? A place which is so bloody tough to navigate and so rich if we allow our body to be the answer. My today's guest, Jasmine Alicia Carter, experienced exactly that. She felt there was no space for her and no space for womanhood until she started doing art with her own menstrual bloods. A journey of reclaiming her sensual body and nurturing her physical body too. She who always moves and always is in change. Yes, Jasmine is a true soft rebellion. She is a menstrual artist and feminine empowerment mentor. She's been painting with her period blood since 2016. It's become a sacred art and a ritual that has changed her life and the lives of thousands of women across the globe through the budding menstrual art movement. And this conversation is deep, it's warm and so empowering, and I'm forever grateful that Jasmine shared her story with us, and I just deeply hope that it will inspire you just as much as it did me. So let's dive in. Enjoy. Very warm, softly rebellious welcome, Jasmine, on the podcast. Here in London, it's a rather grey, rainy, wet autumn morning. How is it on your end?
Same. It's pretty cloudy. It's raining off and on, and it's just like my absolute favorite season ever.
Yes, it's very transitioning, right?
Yes. Transitioning into the internal parts of who we are. It's just like, oh, I just live for this.
Yes, it's it's so needed, right? The one phrase I always remember from the book Wild Power, when they say you're in your inner summer and then 10 days superwoman and then adios and to the next time. And it's so right. There just is this adios.
100%. I mean, also fall and autumn is related to our luteal phases, right? As women are in the menstrual cycle, and luteal is this most misunderstood, we would say, but it's just full of color. It's so full of like the sun is coming and going, and then one day is hot and one day is cold, and you don't know if to bring a sweater or a sweatshirt or then like just shirtless or like what's going on. And it feels like the same happens with our emotions as well, right? And
Absolutely.
it holds so much power, and that there's so much beauty, so much creativity. I just absolutely love it, adore it.
Yeah, and the only one thing we can really then follow or trust is that very deep inner something core. And I love to start these conversations with a body check-in. What is your body telling you today, Jasmine? Where are you at in this moment?
Well, there's a lot of womb work that is very present in my life right now. It's been a really fast-paced summer for me, chasing children and flying and going in so many places and working very hard. So there's been a lot of hastiness, a lot of quickness. And also with this fall equinox, my body and my soul and my emotions, everything is just converging into slowness, softness, right? We're here in the softness podcast. Like really slowing down, going at the tempo of my body, of my womb, not rushing. My children finally are able to go to school and things are starting to dilute a little bit. So I'm able more to stay present to my present moment, come back to my practices, just do body attunements by all means. So there's this sense of just grounding and being and just dropping into the wisdom of my womb and softening and listening to her whispers.
What cycle day are you on today? Now I'm very curious.
I am 8 days away from my period.
Wow.
So it's like, whoa.
Thank you. And I'm on day 5 of my cycle and no, day 6, and I can really feel all the ideas of spring, the spring. And I thought, yeah, I need to also pace myself really, to really not just splurt everything. It would be so tempting.
Absolutely.
So almost spring meets
The autumn.
softening, meets autumn. And I follow you for a while. I've listened to podcasts you were on, and I mean, what you do is, it's so deep and powerful and so de-shaming, dismantling stigma. It's so softly rebellious. And you are a menstrual artist. And I mean, already just that. I think soft rebellion is she who dares to take her blood and make art and show that art to the world. That could be a definition. And that's, in a way, your definition of soft rebellion. And if I did my research correct, it was around 2016, right? That all started when you first painted with your menstrual blood. And I would so love if you could take us back and maybe share about what was the experience, story, or inspiration, what led you to that really softly rebellious act to harvest your blood and make it into art. I have goosebumps when I ask that.
It's so beautiful. Thank you for this question. So wow, like my entire life, like also when I was a little child, I remember stories from my mother telling me that she didn't know what to do with me. Like I was just the rebel. I was the epitome, the incarnation of the rebel. My relationship with blood was already so alive. So my mother told me that I would just cut my hands purposely on the window blinders. And then I would go around painting with my blood on the walls, super happy. I was just so happy about this, So like I was just this kind of personality. I remember art was always so at the forefront of my life. I had an older brother that also he like drew. And so inspired by him, I would like always do stuff. I would paint, I would create sculptures, I would like take photographs, like anything that would make the creation of something was always like a big part of me. That led me to study in art schools and study in Academy of Arts, and I got a degree in bachelor's in art school. But I was always in the middle of arts and psychology. Like, should I study art or should I study psychology? Because also the mind, understanding the mind, understanding the people's personality, how they think, how they go about their life has always intrigued me a lot, and especially in my own life experience. So I have a very tough, I would say, I had a very tough upbringing. Both of my parents were like very emotionally unavailable. They were soldiers, and I was conceived in the war. So this also says a lot about who I am, we could say. And there was a big restlessness in my heart of like, what is this meaning? What is this life about? Like, why am I here? There was so much guilt and so much shame and so much depression and anxiety and deep sadness of not finding a place in the world for who I am. And I remember growing up, not seeing my mother's breast. I never saw anything about my mom. I never saw anything that was related to my mother. Um, and so there was just like not a space for womanhood in my life. I wanted to be a boy. I remember growing up and I would dress up as a boy, speak, lowering my voice, being like I was a boy. I would always hang out with my brother and the big boys. Like I didn't want to have anything to do with being a woman or a girl because there was no space for her to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of deep trying to find myself, deep trying to find my place in the world. And it so happened that fast forward, years passed, my turbulence, my emotional turmoils were bigger and stronger, and it would just manifest in devouring my men in relationships and being so like haunted and everything that I would do, and then every work that I would go and wouldn't be the right one for me. Like there was just so much turmoil, and that my periods were extremely excruciatingly painful.
Mm-hmm.
From day one that I received my period, I was 12 years old. It was just a curse for me. Also, my mother, the first time I had my period, I was looking for like what is this? Like, what is this? Where is it coming from? I had no conversation whatsoever. She was just handing me a pad and said, "Welcome to the club. You're a woman." And she said it with a way that it just feels like, wow, you're cursed for the rest of your life. Congratulations. And that was it, words or spells. So I just remember month after month after month feeling this deep shame about my blood and just like where to put it. I was even neglecting it. And I would have even like horrible hygiene practices because I just had no idea like what to do. I would keep on a pad for like 10 hours straight, like complete total neglect. Of course, painful, absolutely painful periods. They were dark, they were black, they were clotty, they were just like disgusting, absolutely disgusting for me. And it so happened in 2016, I've been through also like years before a Buddhist mm, journey, we could say. So I met my guru at that time and really helped me navigate a lot of shadow inside of me and all of my emotional turmoils and really gave me a glimpse of meaning. Like, oh, okay, my suffering had a meaning. Perfect. So it really helped me cleanse the mind and bring clarity to my mind. But there was this aspect of my body. My periods were still so horrible. So what to do with that? And so it happened that I was in plant ceremony. I sat with Mama Ayahuasca. For who doesn't know ayahuasca, she's an incredible plant, medicine plant that comes from the Amazon rainforest. And I sat in ceremony with her, and she gives this incredible experience of living in a dream state, we could say. Like, so when you're awake and when you're in your dream state, they're both the same because there's the release of DMT. And I went on an incredible journey because it was the first day of my period. So I sat with ayahuasca, it was my first day of period, and whoa, and I had full on experience of period. And it was like so mind-boggling for me because just the moment prior, I was like, oh my God, I have my period exactly on this day. It's gonna ruin my experience. Like, why on earth did I have my period? I was just like, I was just so pissed off by this, not knowing that that ceremony changed my life absolutely forever, forever. And it was in that moment that I just like kind of did, of course, like my life has always been about art. And then I just had this incredible journey of seeing my period for what it really was. This is like it's liquid gold of creation. It's through the blood that we come from. It's from the waters of the womb that we are birthed into this world. Like it just narrated me all of these incredible truths. And when I sat on the toilet and saw my period, I was just looking at it with so much awe, with so much love and wonder. I'm like, wow, like this is blood. This is my blood. I was so intoxicated by it, just like so fascinated that I felt suddenly wrong to throw it in the toilet. All of a sudden, all of a sudden. So I was like, okay, so what do I do with it now? And then it just came like, wow, art, period. Of course. Let's put these two things together. Let's see what happens. And so I don't even remember like how this happened, but I remember suddenly I figured that menstrual cups existed.
Yes.
I was just like, yeah, okay, let's do the menstrual cup. Perfect, because I needed a way to gather the blood. So using the menstrual cup, I was able to gather it. I put it in a container, and I remember like it was the first day, like you never forget the first menstrual blood art that you create. I was on the floor in my room with light, with a candle lit, alone, knowing that, wow, I'm about to do something crazy right now. Like I'm doing something that just felt like so foreign and so like
Wow.
revolutionary, but I was just like feeling so much aliveness. And then I started to create my first ever mandala. And that was like the biggest homecoming I have ever felt in my life. It was finally from looking desperately externally for something that I could find myself in. Finally, it was a moment in which this is me. Oh, what a homecoming. So much relaxation, so much softness, so much joy, so much celebration, so much peace. Even if I was still having such horrible pains, there was finally like, I'm giving this pain a voice.
Yes.
Wow, what is it telling me? And
Yes.
so I went on this incredible journey, cycle after cycle, month after month after month, in which I was exercising and really diving in deep into the contents of my womb. What is this pain was telling me? Was it the partners that was have the really toxic for me? Was how I was eating and the movement that wasn't correct and the people that I was surrounded by that were toxic? Like my period was telling me, was constantly telling me month after month after month. And through this, like very simple practice, it just became like a spiritual practice for me, full on, because I didn't understood, like, wow, there's so much about myself to discover that through this art form I get to experience. What an incredible miracle. And then I started to share my findings online, was really like out of just like the innocence of like, look, I found this art form. This is so amazing. Like every woman should do it. And now after 8 years, it became so big and so vast. And like it's a movement. And we have the menstrual art movement, my page where there's thousands of women every single day. Like I have at least every single day, at least 5 to 10 women sending me pictures of them painting with their art, like every single day. It's just like it seems consolidated, and everyone is just having that experience. Homecoming, reclamation, sacredness, beauty. Wow. So it's
Mm.
really in a nutshell.
Oh, thank you so much, Deborah. I made some tiny little notes. Yeah, you say you open up so many wonderful windows, and I'm right now thinking, oh gosh, right? It's interesting. I'm following you for such a long time. I use a menstruation sponge, and in the last, I would
Yeah.
say maybe year, whenever I can, I squeeze it out in nature, and I
Hmm.
also feel. I mean, oh, how could I ever not use anything anymore which does not somehow harvest my blood, and I can at least look at it before, even if I would once put it down the drain, but at least look at it and honor it and then let it go. But to look, there is something in it, right? To look into the eyes of my own blood, knowing that
Yes.
that blood, I'm an osteopath anatomist, comes from that organ, which is, the most nutritive, most potent. We have been in, I'm sure you know that, I've been in the womb of my grandma, in the embryo when my mom was an embryo. I mean, wombscape is what we breathe and what we always breathed and lived. That's the point for me, Jasmine. And so why? And then for some reason, we just turned our back completely away from that landscape, who knows every step we have to take.
Yes. Yes.
Ah,
I agree. Beautiful.
and I
Beautiful.
feel you when I'm so glad that what you did became a movement. I wish the soft rebellion to become right. It's not about me doing a podcast. It's about a movement, and I think we all find different. It finds a
Yeah.
different expression or language. Yours is menstrual art, mine
Yes.
is soft rebellion. But
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, I love this. I just recently had another powerful experience. I sat with
mhm,
in ceremony with plant medicine, and I
mhm,
really noticed like how us women and sisters
mhm,
are just like a mycelium, just
mhm,
like these like mushrooms, like they're half animals and half humans as well. Mushrooms are so incredible for this reason, and they just so intertwined below the earth, but they're just so connected, interconnected, and weaved one with another. And we're just so part of all of that. So it's when I'm doing something for myself, I'm automatically doing it for everyone.
yeah,
Automatically. It's just like, so the more I think of my own liberation, the more I'm freeing and liberating everyone around us. This is the gift of womanhood and the gift of the womb.
yeah. And I love how you say we are half human, half animal, or half. Yeah, there is. I don't know who it is. Is it Pincola Este? But in one book, someone talks about the uterus, the womb, as a wild animal within a wild animal, and that just sounds, yeah, that is so beautiful. And I would like to dive a little bit deeper into some things you said. And one thing which really touched me, and I know that maybe I could imagine women listening, a lot of listeners that, oh, that resonates with them, maybe because they find themselves right now in that
Mhm.
moment. And I would love if you can speak a little bit more to those women who feel, who are in that place now. You said how you felt that restlessness in your own heart. And I know that place, and it's so fucking painful.
Mhm.
Um, and you said also sadness of not finding my place in the world, right? That
Mhm.
you somehow feel there is a place, but maybe one is right now doing something you don't enjoy, and that, yeah, that restlessness and sadness. And you also there talked about, right, how in a way you felt there is no place. You felt her
Yeah.
somehow waiting for you, but there was no space for her. And yeah, I would love if you can talk a little bit more about maybe how we can, what would you say to yeah, what do you
Yeah.
say to her who finds herself in that moment right now? Because I know there are thousands of listeners being in that place.
Yes,
What do you tell
definitely,
to her? How
definitely.
can she navigate that?
Oh, yes, that's such a space to be in, and it's so incredible, like how quote unquote simple it is once you realize like what was the missing piece. That moment in which you find yourself, you're just like, oh my God, was this it? But
Mm,
who kept us so disconnected from this truth? Like, how is it possible that I forgot? How is it possible?
mhm,
We are the bridges. We are the bridges from the spiritual world to the mortal, to the flesh world.
mm,
And the womb is that space. The
mm,
womb is that portal that can bring one to the other. We're literally magicians. We are literally mystics in this world.
mm.
And the portal that I'm referring to that can take us out of that depressive state, which is a numbness, which is like this
Yeah.
thing of just like constantly looking for outside what we already hold inside, is our body, is our body. Our bodies are physiologically, as women, physiologically designed, through all these rites of passage from menarche, from our first bleed. It's like, whoa, this is a big happening. And most of them had this experience like, oh, what is going on? I'm about to die. When in reality, if someone knows, it can accompany you in that. Like it's one of the most beautiful rites of passage. You're becoming a woman. This
Mm,
is you're having sacred blood running through your thighs. You have the power of creation and the life. Your body is telling you this. Isn't it worthy of sitting down and celebrating? And then we have pregnancy. Whoa, that's another big like. And then we have birth. And then we have postpartum. And then we have menopause. Like all of these aspects of our womanhood, our bodies are changing so much, so much. My breasts throughout like my entire life, I'm 33 right now and I had two children, but my breasts alone have changed so much. They became like super large and then super tiny and then medium and then okay and then super large again. And then like our bodies are designed to move and shift. Are we paying attention to that? We try to find ourselves a place in a world, but we're trying to find our place in a world that is man-made. And it can't work that way. It can't work that way. We work in a completely different way. And it works aligning with our menstrual cycle, which is aligned with nature, which is aligned with the universe. We are the mystics, and we need to learn to live that way.
mm,
And it takes rewiring, it takes trust, it takes a lot of devotion and dedication. It's not a one quick fix. But it's just like when I'm talking about this, I know women are just so deeply resonant. There's a part of them that is softening when they
I
hear this
know.
because they're like, yes, this is what I was waiting for. How do I get there? How do I get there? Listen to your body, touch your body as you mean it. Even caress your face, just touch. You have to educate your fingertips. You have to educate your body. You have to educate every cell of your body to feel again because we are feeling beings. We feel the degree in which we can feel is a gift. And when we're feeling in our pleasure and we're like feeling the orgasm, like, whoa, when we're taking men or women in us, now we become that portal where everything is possible, you know? But the body is the key. Come back into a relationship with your body. Nourish your body as if it was a temple. Got to eat the proper foods. Got to do the proper movement. You want to be strong and you want to be flexible. You want to have a deep relationship with your woman, with your flesh and with your blood. Everything that is related to the woman is sacred, is sacred, is sacred. Everything. You need to learn to come back into communion and deep communion and listening to every part of our body. That's the secret. And it's a lifetime journey.
Yes, and it's a journey, right? Which, in a way, the answer is so simple, and the hard part is that, yes, it requires to recommit day and day and day. And right, we talk about that, and I mean, I'm totally on my path, and I lose it, and I commit to it again. And sometimes it needs more energy to just start with, in a way, to recommit to that. It would be easier to just, I don't know.
Totally. It's so
Swim
true.
in the mud. But what I really hear, Jasmine, is right, that invitation in that moment, she who right now finds herself this restlessness in her heart I heard two things: to reclaim her sensual body in whatever way that looks like, right? If it's exactly caressing yourself, massaging your belly, cream, whatever it is. And the other thing I also heard, and I find that is actually so empowering, nurturing your physical body, just ask yourself, okay, today, how could I nurture my body with this 1% more, which I usually do? And maybe it's, I don't know, just a different drink or whatever it is.
Sure. Yes, yes. This is so important. It's so true. Sometimes we're just like going for the fast, the quick, the thing, the sugar, the coffee, everything that keeps us restless. But it's like when we really tune to our bodies and we really understand, like, maybe I just need some tea. Maybe I need some hot water. Like sometimes simplicity, the return to simplicity, and sometimes it's not even food that we want. Sometimes they're saying like, yeah, let's get the chocolate bar premenstrual phase, like we're eating chocolate all the time. Is it really what your body wants though? Isn't it that it needs more and more nourishment? Maybe something made with bone, like chicken broth or something that can really nourish. Maybe you need more touch. Maybe you're touch starved. And we're trying to compensate that void with a bunch of things around us, Maybe it's just like we need to sit on our beds and just caress ourselves and place our hands on our wombs, maybe touch our lips, maybe touch there's so many ways to nourish our body. And it's so unique to every single individual. So it's so important to just like learn to listen and then give what the body really needs.
Yes. And then to trust, right? Because I also hear some being used about questions here. People say, but is it that simple? Yes, right. That's our responsibility, to reclaim our sensual body, to nurture my physical self, and then to trust and know that then things will pour through us, because our body is a vessel, and we can't. It's not our job to. We can't push the creative power ever, but to then and then it need. Or what would you say? If I am in my central being and I nurture myself, to then know, even if I sit in an emptiness for a week or if for a month, that things will come and pour through me, because that's what happened to you. I'm just taking a super teeny tiny little break from the conversation with Jasmine to invite you for a couple of things. Well, first and foremost, I invite you to leave a review and to follow this podcast. You really can't imagine how much this is of a support to spread the soft rebellion movement with the world and in the world. So if you do enjoy these podcast episodes, then please follow, share, and especially share with your friends, with families, with your circles. Talk about the soft rebellion with each other and get in touch with me. Share with me, how does your soft rebellion journey look like at the moment? And I also would like to invite you to be guest on the podcast. If you would like to share your soft rebellion journey, do get in touch with me too. And I would like to invite you to join my newsletter. I've started every Monday to send out softly rebellious news. And no, I'm not selling anything, not yet. I'm literally giving you a snippet from my life, usually filled with wonderful insights, ideas, and links, and This week I've received 3 messages of gratitude of women sharing how much they enjoy this digital letter. So I thought, let's have a shout out in the next episode and invite all of you to sign up for that. You can do that if you head over to my webpage, florinatali.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And this is the last thing, my free mini course is still on there, and it will be on there until December, when I will record the next version of it. So if you'd like to be joining this from the very start, then do head over to my webpage too and enjoy my free mini course. Let's head back to the conversation with Alicia, Jasmine Alicia.
100%. So true. So true. So true. Like really honor every single process we go through. Honor every single phase of our cycle. It's so relevant. Knowing when we are in the different phases of our cycle. Like today, after years and years and years of work that I did on myself, on my body, on my awareness, I know exactly the day in which my period is coming. I just feel my cervix opening, and I just feel my state of consciousness changing when I have the first drip of blood coming out of my cervix. I can feel that subtly. I know exactly when I'm ovulating, the exact moment, because I feel the ovary and the egg that is being ruptured out of my ovary. You can feel it. You can feel so sensitively. We can get to that. That is our state. That is our original state, but we're so disconnected in so many ways. Yes. Like even in the shoes that we're wearing, paradoxically, when we're wearing high heels, can you see like how we're just separating ourselves from the earth? All the ways in which we're just disconnecting, and we're living in concrete jungles. We're not planting our feet on the earth anymore. She speaks to us. We are nature. We are nature. Like, how is our connection with nature right now? And the pollution that is in the world, like you can see the state of the world and the state of the woman. Never in history, the rate of reproductive imbalance has never been so high now. So high. We have all sorts of reproductive ailments, from PMDD and premenstrual symptoms and endometriosis and PCOS. And we have like all sorts, and cysts and polycysts. There's so many things happening, and it's not normal. Normal. When we go to the primary caregivers, and they always say, "Yeah, no, it's normal. It's normal. It's in your head. Don't worry. No, it's all normal." It is not normal. It is not normal. This work is so needed right now. It's actually like it's the most important thing a woman can ever do, honestly.
Right. It's so interesting. Now I see how, right, you are a menstrual artist, you are a feminine empowerment mentor, that's how you call yourself, and you have such a trailblazing and educative role, right? And it needs to come. I'm sure there is thousands of research about all these fertility, reproductive issue, blah, 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 blah. Probably a lot also done by men, but we don't need more facts. I've recently spoken to Lisa Lister, and the big thing which came out of that conversation, we bloody hell don't need more facts, but we need wisdom and shared lived experience. And that's what you're doing as a menstrual artist. You share your lived experience, and that is the research we need, right? Yes, yeah, but it's and it's so, you have a very educative role in a way, maybe consciously, unconsciously, because it needs the woman who, it's like with, I sometimes think, may I say that, the birth industry, it needs women who also come out of such situation, say, and this is not normal. I would have had the power to blah, 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 blah. But it needs women like you and me who say, I can see what is there, but that's not normal.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful to do, to speak up on this, because still today I have so many women, that they feel inspired, they do their menstrual art, they paint it, they did it. They feel so empowered by it. And then they're like, I don't have the power to speak about it though. I'm so afraid. What will people think about me? How will people judge me? Like there's so many women who do it, which is absolutely incredible, but then they kind of hide it because there's still the shame. There's still the shame. And there's this lingering fear that we will be burned alive again, because we come from that witch wound, ultimately. Like millions and millions of women have been burned on the stake because of this. And these are things that we already know. And the true battle right now is just battling with shame. The shame that is there, that has been there for centuries. That is the biggest monster we need to confront, because actually on the other side, there's just pure freedom. It's like a paradise. It's an Eden. It's what we always wished for, always.
Tell us more about that. So in a way that takes us back to your story. What, yeah, how are you meeting that shame and fear, or how are you de-shaming our world there? Or in other words, what happened? So here you
Yeah,
were in that moment when you drew
yeah,
your first painting,
yeah.
2016, in your space, candles, and wow, how yeah, you gave that pain a voice, but and
Yeah.
you started sharing it. What happened? What was and how did you
This is
meet
so
those
precious
reactions?
because it
What
feels
happened then,
that
Jasmine?
the experience that I had after having creating that painting and what I'm living now after 8 years, it just feels like nothing changed, but everything changed in a sense that I created it. My mother came inside of the room and she saw the painting and was like, "That is so beautiful, Jasmine. Like, wow, what a beautiful painting." And I was like, "Thank you. It's made of my period blood." The velocity which she changed the expression of her face, and she was just like so cringed. She was like, she was about to have a heart attack. You know, it was just like, oh, like so disgusting. It was just, and like her
Wow,
reaction
wow.
is literally the reaction that I get from most of the people who come across my work. This thing, like if you go through the comment section of my videos, especially the one has gone viral, it's such an eye-opening experience. Like you can have a real awakening through just reading through the comments, because from people who are just like, oh my God, this is the most incredible, beautiful thing I have ever seen. Like this, I want to try it, I want to do it, like immediate reaction. And then you have the complete opposite, like absolute disgust. You need to be burned on the stake, like curse and all the things. And then there's the in between of like, this is both beautiful and disgusting at the same time. And people don't know where to go. It just explodes their minds, you know? So when I saw this
Mhm.
reaction from my mother, I was like, this is something important. Like this, what I'm doing
Mhm.
here is
Mhm.
really important. I don't know what it is yet, but it's just like seeing the reaction from my mom this way, like there's something here. So the next day, then I had a male friend and a female friend, and I showed them like, hey, I created this with my menstrual. Oh, this is my menstruation. What do you think about it? And they were just like, wow, Jasmine, like this, everyone should know about this. Like everyone should know about this. They were just so supportive. And it was just enough. I just needed the reaction of my mother. I needed the reaction of these two friends. And then I just felt so confident in just sharing my work. And of course, it was like I started from nothing. I started, and I received so much
Mhm.
like criticism and like doubts, and people were just like trying to prove me like, okay, but what about the biohazard and what about this and blah, 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 blah. And that kind of inspired me to go down the road of understanding more scientifically what is this blood we're talking about, like why isn't it biohazard truly, what is inside the nutrients of blood and all of these things, you know. So go down a route of really learning more about the physiological happenings of our bodies, etc. And as it grew, like I had waves in which some post of mine would go more viral, and then it would bring an onset of hatred. So every time it was kind of an initiation process for me. Like how much energy am I able to hold and transform and alchemize? All the hatred that comes my way, how can I transform it and alchemize it in love? And I love how you mentioned like the softness part.
Yeah.
There's so much softness in doing this work. I'm not loud when I'm doing this work. I don't have to prove anything. I'm just showcasing how this work has transformed my life. I'm having proof of how it's transforming the life of other women. I'm just allowing experience to show itself. I don't have to yell. I don't have to prove anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it is, you know? And it's really soft. It's a really gentle way. And I do understand the hatred and I do understand the blackmail, because I was one of those women too. I was one of those people who said, like, this is freaking disgusting. I don't want to have anything to do with this blood. It is a curse. It is so freaking painful. I don't want it. So I do understand where these people come from. And I also healed from that. So I do understand these both parts. I do understand the shadow and the light, and they're both welcome in my world. you know, because it's all needed, it's all necessary. So I'm just like, when I do this work and every time I sit and I paint, I'm keeping everyone in mind, you know?
And that's where, right, you mentioned once we are a bridge, and that's where you are a bridge. That's so powerful that you came from, that place where our patriarchal society, where you were also pushed into exactly thinking this and that and feeling that and that about your period and about your cycle, about your female body probably. But you've healed and you have met her. You mentioned that again in the beginning, right? When she didn't have a place, but you've healed so that she can have a place. And how powerful is that to just bring unconditional understanding to both parts, and yet just keep doing your work because you just have to. That's again, you do that for the liberation of the world.
Yeah, coming back to like,
Wow.
what is my place in the world? Like, simply by existing, that is my place in the world. You know, like just my existence alone as a woman, because I hold the creation, I hold the seed of creation. Without us, nothing could exist. You can really try to replace it with AI, with robots and all, etc. But ultimately, the seed is always within us. We hold that. We have that much power. I do believe, like, it makes sense that people fear us so much because we have so much power. You can either fear us or have an like devouring devotion. And when you have devotion towards us, that's when our gifts come out. That's when we really do massive, powerful healing work. But if you fear us, no.
But that's so good to hear that again. Yeah, my existence is enough. Being, existing, and bringing that female body. And yeah, I often have that vision. I think, wow. I always think, wow, if we women would walk down the street with that knowing, my womb is creating. My work is hugely inspired by embryology, because that is. And I feel, yes, even if you're not pregnant, never want to be pregnant, if you're not a doctor, but we must know about, the story of the embryo is just, and we are the witness of that, generations and generations. So if women would walk down the street just knowing that, like, I can feel how we would just,
Totally, our posture, how we enter the world, our breasts, you know, like are we keeping it always tucked in and rubbing our shoulders instead of boom, just like being that open channel, like their breasts are our heart. When I'm coming inside of a room, my spine is super straight, my breasts are super open. I go in a room and I fill it up with me, you know, and people cannot but just like turn around like, who is this woman? You know, and that's when opportunities come.
Because we honor and celebrate creation, right? That which is just what we are. What I'm really fascinated, Chris, now, when you started learning about the blood, no one ever has talked about physiological fascinations about the blood in that podcast. What really fascinated you when you learned about our menstrual
so many things, honestly, especially that it's of its nutritional value. That is the thing that really, like, I'm like, what? Like, seriously? Like, I've been throwing such a powerful elixir that can, like, my plants in my home are thriving. Every time someone comes in my office and sees my Diffenbachia here, it's one of my favorite plants on earth, they're just looking at it like, this is the most happiest plant I have ever seen in my life. She is growing like wildfire. All of my plants are super happy because I offer my blood to the plants, the ultimate fertilizer. I drink my own blood, and I did it even before knowing about the nutritional values because I just knew there's an inner knowing that we know. And I have so many vegan and vegetarian friends that keep their protein intake in check through drinking their own menstrual blood. There's literally, if you look at down at the whole components of period blood, there's not one thing that is toxic for the body. Not one thing. It has proteins, it has sodium, has calcium, has iron, has phosphorus, has selenium, has all incredible nutrients.
And it must have, because here comes the embryologist, until your heart starts, that the circulation takes over in the embryo at 4 weeks. But the first 4 weeks, that embryo is only being nurtured through diffusion, through the
exactly, that is made from your period blood. Like, on.
Exactly.
Like, of
So, of
course,
course.
you know, like it's just two plus two. But there's so many people who just don't understand this, you know. And of course, there's not been enough science, and people don't want us too powerful and natural, you know, because then the pharma would collapse. Like, we have everything to destroy this world and rebuild it from foundations and actually make
Yes.
the world thrive.
Yes.
You know, like we have
Yeah.
everything.
It was destroyed by human beings and it can
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
healed
Can you
by
imagine
women.
another piece of history that was really fascinating to me? In ancient times, there were these temples, you know, that were completely devoted and dedicated to the woman, and the women would retreat when they had their periods. They would birth babies in there, like everything related to fertility. Like there were these oases of bliss made specifically only for women, and they were the hearth. They were the heart of the city. They were the hearth of the time of the you know, of the towns where they were. And when the patriarchy came in, they knew this, that they were the most important, powerful place that kept the strength of the city. So what they would do to conquer a city, to conquer a place, they would just immediately go to the women's temples and destroy it. The first thing that they would do, the first thing, because then they would lose all their power, and they would succumb very easily. So at that degree, you know, and from there, destroying the temples of the feminine, now there's just the patriarchy all around us, and you can see like what it brought. So much chaos, so much confusion, so much disorder. So it's up to us to come back into sisterhood, come back to this wisdom. And also, this is why there's so much competition between women and all these things, because they just destroyed our power. And the more you come to this work, the more you come to womb work and reclaiming your blood, the more sisterhood will come and back, and we're all calling each other in again and becoming that mycelium, and creating this vast healing force in the world again.
It's exactly about that temple, and right, we do that. We if we all do art or just or do something or drink it, whatever with our blood, we nurture our own temple, and at the same time, collectively, every temple which is mine, I see that now as a building block to build that big temple, and it can be across countries and borders and whatever languages, races, anything, but we all contribute to that temple. And I mean, you know, I just love that rebellious acting. Yeah, taking our menstrual blood, that what might disgust people, and just simply not be the ones who are not disgusted. Just so all the way, also very pragmatically, you know, just very pragmatic. Take the blood and bring it onto
100%.
paper.
Give it to plants.
So maybe tell us, Jasmine, very pragmatically, from the soft rebellion is poetic and pragmatic. So how does woman join this movement? She who listens and thinks, wow, woof, I feel a bit maybe a bit scary, a bit resistance, but I really want to harvest my blood and do arts or even nurture my body with it. How does she start?
So I get this a lot, and it makes sense, you know, like I would suggest baby steps, you know, like it doesn't have to be massive. You don't have to be madly in love with your period. It can take time before you actually start to revere and feel this feeling of like, I love my period, you know. So even in the beginning, it's just important to establish a connection, a willingness to establish that connection. So first thing would be definitely purchase a menstrual cup. Instead of using industrial pads, etc., use something that can actually collect your blood and showcase it to you exactly how it is meant to be. Because sometimes when you're using a pad or using, no offense, but like even a sponge, you know, like something that absorbs the blood and it's on another agent, you're not able to actually see it. Maybe with the sponge, you can squeeze it out and just see the blood, but you want to, you know,
but still
there's also this
absorbed,
absorbent part. So like this act of just collecting the blood and taking it out and just seeing it exactly for what it is, it's so powerful per se. Like this is already a massive initiation for someone. Because when I was in that ayahuasca experience and I looked at my pad and there was the blood there, like I looked at it and it felt like I was rewiring the feelings that I had the first time I had my blood at 12 years old. So it's like this act of like rewiring everything that was before. Like, So just thinking about, okay, how was my first experience with my period? When I had it, what did I feel? Was there shame, disgust? Was there empowerment? Was there this like neutrality? Can I rewrite a story in which like I'm looking at it right now, and now that I know that it holds the seed of creation, it has all this incredible power, it's full of nutrients, and there's so many women that are doing so many crazy things with it. Like, who can I look at it now with these new eyes? You know, this is already a first pace. Then you might want to touch it. Our fingers hold so many nerve endings, you know, and they communicate so deeply. So when we're touching our bodies or touching blood, and that's why our children are always putting hands everywhere, you know, in the mud and the colors and just smearing, like our fingers hold power. So just dipping your finger in the blood, how does that make you feel? That is already a huge step. You can just look at it, the finger, and look at the blood. You can either smear it on your face, or like put a little dot on your forehead. You can even smear it on a piece of paper and just see, you know, like very baby steps. So just go at the pace of what you can handle, because likely a lot of shame will come out, a lot of conditioning, a lot of like, what the hell am I doing? This is so crazy. This is so wild. And that's why I suggest to look at my Instagram page, the Menstrual Art Movement, it's called. And it showcases so many incredible artists and sisters that have taken art, like their periods, and used it as a medium of art to just say like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Come on my page by all means. You just look at the comments. They're like hundreds of women are just like, yes, that have reclaimed this part of themselves. We're a thriving community, thriving community. Things are changing. So just gather some courage from that, and then from the stories, and just know that we're all in this together, and just go at the tempo of yourself. Carve out time for your period. Carve out time. Stop,
Yes.
relinquish all of your to-dos, at least for the first day. That is my greatest advice I could ever give. Because if you're just so packed of things during the first day of bleed, which is actually the day in which you bleed the most, and which is the moment in which your body is just like imploring you to go inside and listen and rest. And it's an active rest, you know, because you're resting, but you're just completely working on the other side, you know, on the spiritual realms. You're just like working hardcore there. There's like so much to navigate there, and there's so many codes and wealth and wisdom, you know. So the blood is the bridge, you know, from between realms. So carve out time, make a little ritual out of this. You say, okay, even if it's lighting a candle, I'm going into the bathroom, I'm taking out my cup, I'm looking at my blood, I'm touching it with my finger, I'm gonna smell it. If I feel courageous, I'm gonna taste it. Just like go do whatever you want in that sense, but just like allow yourself to discover things as if you were a child again. This is the ultimate key.
Also a sense of
Playfulness, yes,
playfulness.
curiosity. Just allow yourself to go there, and of course, when the judgment comes and the shame and these hard emotions come in, breathe and ask yourself, like, where are these coming from? You know.
Isn't it so beautiful, right? We could think we need to see 1,000 therapists and psychologists and this and that, and maybe sometimes, of course, we need support, but actually also there is this what is the blood? There is her. There is this one event experience we have once a month, and we just uncover, and the shame, the pain, just brings us so in a way with ease, with flow, literally, right? Brings us to the wounds we have to heal. And I think already just knowing that she is not alone, that there is the menstrual art movement, there are so many movements, and we can so lean into that energetically. And from that point of view, I love Instagram. You know, there is something amazing about it, that there is a way that we can see, and wow, yeah, I'm not alone in that.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much it's so wonderful to talk with you. So encouraging, inspiring, and I have this one question I always ask in the end, because I'm curious, and it's a nice one to ask. I'm always curious at this moment in time, what book are you reading, Jasmine? What is on your bed
So
table?
I have quite a few actually. So one is all about anatomy. Anatomy.
Love that anatomy coloring book.
So I'm really learning about my anatomy, and I get to color also the pages while I learn about anatomy. So this is my way of really being devoted to my body, and I'm also studying as a womb continuum practitioner. So working a lot on learning about anatomy and how to support women, just like a doula. And the other book is The Magic of Vajrayana, honestly. So it's more on the spiritual side. I've been a Buddhist practitioner for over 10 years now. So a long time has passed. And like Vajrayana, Dzogchen Buddhism, which is the more tantric aspect of Buddhism, has absolutely changed my life. I absolutely adore it. And there's a specific practice that I love. It's called Chod, which is very feminine. And you do this entire practice, imagining yourself, visualizing yourself as this incredible dakini, which is the representation of all the illumination, like the ultimate freedom. And she kind of like gets the body, which the body is like the most sacred aspect of who we are, but she takes the body and then she cuts it into thousands of pieces, and then she melts it and she offers it to everyone, to the higher beings and to the lower beings, as an act of generosity and ultimate love and compassion. So it's just like this incredible mother energy, that comes from, and it's so tantric because it's just like the transmutation of everything that we fear and disgust and shame and anger and greed into illumination, into wisdom, into compassion, into good deeds and qualities. So.
Wow. The magic of Narayana.
Vajrayana,
Just
yes. On Pen McLeod. Very beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that too. Oh, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, Jasmine Alicia Carter, for being with us. And thank you, dear listeners, for being with us and me too. By sharing these conversations with you, I'm leaning into my calling, my own soft rebellion. And it's such a blessing to be creating a platform of resources, inspirations for all of us to come home to the creative power of our female body. I would love, as always, to hear your takeaways and how this conversation was for you. You can always tag me on social media at florina.tali, or you can send me an email. I love receiving your emails and I always respond. That's softrebellion@florinatali.com. I would love to hear from you, who you would like me to be talking to, what topics you would like to be explored. I just really want this to be a conversation. And yes, share this episode, share this podcast. And what is left to say? Go and be your unique and weird, wonderful self. And I'll be with you next week with a short, powerful power talk of a solo episode, why giving up is not a solution. Lots and lots of love, my dear softly rebellious friend.